Director, you see President Trump bringing attention to this. Fox News brings attention to the situation at the border. Do Border Patrol agents or ICE agents ever go on any other networks to tell the story of what's happening at the border? Because it seems like on the other side, they're only hearing the president and Republicans talk about it, but not the guys on the ground.
The other networks want to hear from the experts. They don't want to hear what they got to say. You think any of the networks want to talk to Tom Homan? They don't want to hear the facts on the ground because it doesn't go with their agenda. Their leftist open border agenda. So no, they don't talk to the experts, just like Democratic leadership. They don't want to talk to experts.
So you've never been invited. You've never been invited to speak on any of the other networks.
Well, now he's a Fox News contributor, so he's stuck. He's stuck.
But we're talking contributor.
But when I was ICE director, I did one show with Whoop Blitzer, and after I beat him up, I was never invited back.
Of course.
Because look, the truth's the truth.
The truth is the truth. Well, there's a tweet came out yesterday from your favorite Congresswoman, Mr. Director, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Comrade Cortez. She tweeted this. She said, "If you're mad that I think people should know when Dems vote to expand ICE powers, then be mad." She writes, "ICE is a dangerous agency with zero accountability, widespread reporting of rape, abuse of power, and children dying in DHS custody. Having a D next to your name doesn't make that right." And you say,
okay, let's talk about it. I was supposed to be in an airplane this morning going to Dallas to do an event with Sheriff Bill Wayburn, Sheriff from Tarrant County, and I canceled my flight to respond to this. So I'm sorry I couldn't make the event for Sheriff Wayburn, but I had to be here. Look, she said we're dangerous. What's dangerous? You have a congresswoman that doesn't know fact and fiction. You have a congresswoman that doesn't know how to tell the truth. I forgot more about this subject than she'll ever know in her 2 whole months of being a congresswoman. She said 3 things. She said that ICE was holding children down and injecting them with antipsychotic drugs. Are you kidding me? That allegation was made against HHS, a different agency in a different department, and she failed to mention those allegations were unsubstantiated. That was not ICE. As far as raping women and sexually abusing women, ICE rescued 310 women from traffickers last year. We found them. We saved them. We save women. We don't rape them. And the NGOs demand investigation in our facility like Huddle, massive sexual abuse. FBI went in there, did a full investigation, found nothing. I'm sick and tired of ICE agent officers who are being accused of this stuff. And as far as she said, children died in ICE custody. A child has never died in ICE custody ever. Give me one name of a child that died in ICE custody. 2 children died in custody of the Border Patrol, and it wasn't their fault. They did everything they could to save these women. So this lady, this congressman, needs to get her facts straight. What infuriates me, if I buried too many Border Patrol agents and ICE agents to have her spit on their grave or her spreading these rumors about ICE. If she wants to place blame on the 30% women being raped by these criminal organizations and children dying crossing the border, she needs to look in the mirror, because she supports sanctuary cities, abolishing ICE, open borders, which entices more people to come to this country. I'm upset. I've never been this upset in my career. How dare she? Where's the ethics investigations and Ocasio-Cortez and saying what she says?
Tom, let me ask you this. There will be a detainer that will go out for an illegal criminal alien today, tomorrow, and the day after that. Will this, in these words like AOC's, impact ACE agents doing their job?
No, because ICE agents are doing a great job. They're defending this country. We lost so many of them that they leave the safety and security at home every day to defend this nation, and she dishonors them with these total lies. She mentioned. Let me mention one more thing. She says too many people die in ICE custody. Last year, 9 adults died in ICE custody. We dealt with 350,000 people come from third world countries who never seen a doctor. I'm surprised only 9 died. But look at New York City. From 2001 to 2009, 246 people died in custody. New York City officials, that's 27 years, 3 times more than ICE ever thought of having. We have the lowest mortality rate of any system, so she ought to need to look in her own backyard in New York before she denigrates the men and women of ICE.
Director, fired up. I tell you, I was at the State of the Union. She wouldn't even stand to congratulate the ICE officers who rescued those women you talked about from sex trafficking.
Cortez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all, as our panelists here, for lending your expertise and your insight to help us better legislate, and especially thank you to Dr. Georges for, as a professor at Lehman College, for representing the Bronx so well here in this body. I have a question. I wanted to continue a little bit on my colleague from California's line of questioning about public investment in research and development. I guess you would say that this is Would it be correct, Dr. Kesselheim, to characterize the NIH money that is being used in development and research as an early investment?
Yes.
So the public is acting as an early investor in the production of these drugs. Is the public receiving any sort of direct return on that investment from the highly profitable drugs that are developed from that research?
No, in most cases, there isn't. When those products are eventually handed off to a for-profit company, there aren't licensing deals that bring money back into the coffers of the NIH. That usually doesn't happen.
So the public is acting as an early investor, putting tons of money in the development of drugs that then become privatized, and then they receive no return on the investment that they have made.
Right.
Dr. Anderson, I have a question. Since you study comparative insurance systems, are there models where the public does receive returns on investments in other insurance models across the world?
There are a few, but they're relatively uncommon.
Mm-hmm. And how does that tend to work?
So essentially, if the places at the UK or someplace like that have invested money in it, they will get some rate of return on those investments. But again, it's relatively uncommon.
Mm-hmm. I also have one question for Dr. Georges, and please stop me if I'm going out of the scope of your expertise. As a nurse, in your experience as a nurse, do you have knowledge of the VA, like in general knowledge of the VA and how the VA works?
Some knowledge.
And in your experience, is the VA as a public-owned and operated operation, rather, are the drug prices in the VA lower or higher or the same?
Well, that I
as
can't
what we see in
speak to. I don't have that kind
So-
of knowledge.
They tend to be much lower
So
than in other places in the.
So they tend
about 31% lower than what Medicare pays.
So the VA tends to be lower, and can you explain why anyone on the panel why that is?
So, well, in part because the VA gets some automatic statutory rebates based on the drugs that it buys, but also because the VA negotiates on behalf of all of the members of the VA and is able to use its marketing power to try to negotiate that. And also because it takes a very thoughtful approach to developing its formulary and can use inclusion on its formulary as another way of trying to negotiate a fair price for the product.
So you would say, and am I correct in saying that the VA is using collective bargaining power in the market to lower the price of drugs as a counter to some of the for-profit or profit motive pressures, upward pressures on the cost of pharmaceuticals?
Right. Yes.
Okay, great. And I guess one last question in my remaining time. If you all could ask us, to act as members of Congress and do one thing, one action, what would that action be?
So I think, for me, it's external reference prices. And that's something that President Trump has proposed in Medicare Part B, to pay 126% of what the other countries do. I'm not sure I would agree with the countries that he chose, but essentially to pay 123%. If right now in the Medicare Part D, which is most of the money, we pay about 3 to 4 times what other countries pay for the same drugs. I don't think we can bring it down to what they pay or 126% of it, but we could bring it down a lot.
I tend to think external reference pricing is not a good idea, and I think that what we should do is actually get our own house in order and negotiate and try to evaluate the value and comparative and cost effectiveness of drugs better in the U.S. and try to determine what the right price is for U.S. patients rather than relying on what the prices are in other countries. But if I could say one thing that we could do, I think it would be to, again, try to develop a system where the government could try to identify what the fair price is for a drug and what are reasonable prices for the drug based on the value that the drug provides to patients, and then use that to negotiate with the pharmaceutical manufacturer to try to get a more effective price that we provide.
We in AARP would like you to have HHS be allowed to negotiate lower drug prices on behalf of Medicare beneficiaries.
Thank you. Thank you all
Thank you
so
very
much.
much.
Mr.
Thank you,
Chair, I
Ms.
yield my
Presley.
time.